Hey everyone, Jake here for American Muscle, and in this video we're taking a look at the Striker Lights RGB Flow Series S650 style headlights with the Blue Ghost controller in matte black with clear lenses, fitting 2018 to 2023 Mustang GT and EcoBoost models. Now these are going to appeal to the S550 owner who's looking to make a big statement with their car without having to compromise on lighting output. If you're looking for a way to make your Mustang stand out from the crowd, these are going to give you everything you need to do exactly that and a little bit more. Now there are lots of options out there when it comes to headlights for the S550, but these are a very unique option. They're meant to evoke the style of the 2024 and newer cars with those triple LED projectors. And those are very bright, and as is typical for an LED projector, you're going to get a wide beam pattern and a nice sharp cutoff. And while these have great output, the real highlight of these are the RGB elements that frame those main beams. Now these have almost infinite options for what you can do with them. The Blue Ghost controller module offers customization within every mode and color. As standard, you get 120 modes, solid colors, and mode memory. The Blue Ghost controller ups the ante though. You can control everything through the app, which connects via Bluetooth, and it's gonna let you do pretty much anything you can imagine. You even have a dozen startup animations to choose from, and these are also going to work as turn signal repeaters, which you can also customize. And that's all to say that these have a way of making your car the most unique of the bunch. And even when they're switched off, as you can see here on the table, they look pretty great with those blacked out inner housings and a nice clean design. And while I'm not one for gimmicks, if you're gonna have LED running lights on your car, why not go full bore and get something like this? They have the trifecta of looking good, being functional, and also being really unique. Construction is your typical ABS plastic for the housings with polycarbonate over top of the lenses, very much the industry standard. These are of course all weather sealed to keep dirt and moisture from damaging the electronics inside, and since all of the lighting elements are fully LED, they have a nice output and a long lifespan. They also have integrated adjusters here, meaning that they meet all DOT and SAE regulations, so they are fully street legal. Pricing for the set comes in at about $1,450, which does put them toward the top end of the category. But I think the improved lighting output and the customizability here are worth the price of entry if you want that style and something unique for your car. Installation is going to get a 2 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and the job should take you around 2 hours to complete. Now you are going to have to remove your front bumper cover in order to access the headlights, and there is a little bit of wiring you'll need to do in order to get that cool Blue Ghost controller working. However, it's not all that much, and pulling off that bumper cover is really easy. Otherwise, it's a plug and play process. So once you've got a few wires done up, you're ready to go. And we're going to walk you through that process right now, so with that, let's head on out to the shop.
Tools required for this install include a ratchet, clip remover tool, wire strippers and crimpers, scissors or diagonal cutters, an extension, a few zip ties, some terminal connectors, male spade connectors and T-taps, 7, 8, 10, and 13 millimeter sockets, and a test light. What's up guys? Today we're installing a set of headlights on our Mustang. First we're going to watch a quick uninstall video showing you how to remove your factory headlights, and then I'll meet you right back here for the install.
Alright, so the first step in our install with your hood popped is to take off the rad support cover with a pop clip removal tool. Go ahead and line up each of these pop clips and take them out one by one. Then you can grab the cover and remove it off of your car. Next up, we're going to remove all of the bolts holding on our front bumper, starting with these small 5.5 millimeter bolts at either side. Grab a 5.5 millimeter socket and a ratchet and get these off. Moving on to the next bolt, this one's an 8 millimeter, so grab an 8 millimeter socket and your ratchet, and let's get this off. Okay, so now we need to get access to the back of our bumper through the wheel well. We need to remove a pop clip that should be right here. Ours does not have one. Once that's removed, you just need to grab the liner and pull it back to expose two nuts right about here. All right, so right here, this may be hard to see while we're removing them, but these are the nuts that you want to remove in order to separate the bumper from the fender. Grab your 10mm socket and remove these nuts. All right, repeat that process on the other side. Now you can take more of the clips out to get more of the liner out. You can even take your wheel off if you'd like, but you can get to it without removing too many things, so we're gonna try to do that here. Grab your 10mm socket and remove the two nuts that hold your fender to your bumper. Again, you might not see these, but they're in the exact same location as the other side. All right, so at this point, we have the car in the air. Now you don't need a lift to do this. We just want to give you a better shot at the underneath of the car to see what you're supposed to be doing. Grab a 7mm socket, and we're gonna remove all of the bolts that are holding on the bottom of the bumper. All right, so at this point, we can release the side of the bumper. So right in between those two nuts that you took off, there is like a pop clip attached to a bracket. So you need to release this to release the bumper. You can go in from the side, but if you're concerned about the paint and you still have the wheel well liner out of the way, you can get at it from the back here. So just go in between the bracket and release it. Repeat that on the other side. Right, at this point, we can lift the bumper off the top of these posts up here to release it. Pull it down and out of the way, and you should be able to see several connectors. Locate the connectors holding on your bumper still. Go ahead and press and release them, one on each side. Repeat that on the other side. All right, now you can pull the bumper off of your car. So now the bolts holding on the headlight are exposed. We can use our 13mm socket to take off the one on the side. Grab a 10mm socket if you can find one for the bolt on top, closest to the rad support. Then there's one additional bolt all the way at the bottom underneath your headlight. Go ahead and wiggle your headlight loose. Release the connector on the back. And also release this clip that holds on the wiring harness.
So now that we have our factory headlights removed, we're going to get our wiring all set up before we install our new headlights. So we have a power and a ground coming off our controller. That's going to be our red and our black wire. We're going to crimp on these terminal connectors so that we can hook this up to our battery. As for the white, yellow, and green, they're going to be for your daytime running lights and your turn signals. So we're gonna be using male spade connectors on the end of those, and they're gonna go into T-taps that we install onto those wires. So now this is the T-tap that we're gonna be using for our daytime running light and our turn signal wires. The way this works is this is gonna connect up to the body harness side on the car. Just for an example here, you're gonna put this metal fork around the wire and then close up the connector. Use a pair of pliers to crimp it down. That's gonna cut into the wire to make that connection. And then once that's closed up, we have our male spade connector. That's gonna slide in just like that to make the connection for our controller. So with that being said, grab yourself some wire strippers and crimpers. We're gonna strip off some lead on the yellow, white, and green wires and crimp our male spades on, and then we'll work on our positive and negative going to our battery. So once you strip back that lead, just twist it up nice and tight. Slide your spade connector over top. And then take your wire crimpers and crimp that down. And then just give it a nice tug on your connector. Make sure you have a solid connection there. It's nice and tight. And then just do the same thing for your other two wires. And there, we actually pulled that off, so we didn't have a good connection there. So we're just gonna cut that wire, strip back some new lead, and then we'll grab a new connector to crimp onto that. So now grab that connector, slide it on, crimp it down. This time we have a much more solid connection. And now we can grab our red and black wire. We're gonna do that same thing, strip back some lead, twist up your lead, and slide your terminal connector onto that wire. And then you can take your wire crimpers and crimp down on it. Give it a nice tug, make sure you have a good connection. And then do the same thing for the black. We have good connections there, so we're ready to get this installed onto the Mustang. So now I've got my wiring laid out, kind of how this is gonna run across the engine bay. I've got our red and black running back towards our battery. The white wire is gonna go over to the driver's side for the driver turn signal. This yellow and green wire are gonna stay over here on the passenger side. That's gonna be for our passenger side turn signal as well as our daytime running lights. I'm gonna get this box mounted up right around here in this area. I've got some double-sided tape to put on the back so that we can stick it down. So now I've got our controller here. I'm gonna be mounting that up right underneath of this support right here. Now I'm gonna be using some double-sided tape. You wanna make sure that this green and yellow wire are running under towards the headlight bucket. And we'll just grab some double-sided tape. Scissors or diagonal cutters. And I'm just going to stick down 2 pieces on this just to be safe. Just get it really stuck down there. And then peel the backing. And then just make sure you have all your wires out of the way. And stick that down. So now we can get our red and black wire and run it cleanly back towards our battery box, hook it up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go underneath of these mounts for a fuse box here, and then just follow this wire back into our battery box. So just slide your connectors under here. That'll keep it nice and tidy. And then just pull all of your slack through. We can zip tie this up in the battery box, keep it nice and clean. Now next we can remove the cover to our battery box. Now normally we have a push clip here, here, and here that you're gonna have to pop out. You can grab yourself a clip remover tool, pop those out of place, and then you can remove your cover by lifting up and then pulling out. You've got these two tabs that go in here in the back. So now with that out of the way, we have access to our battery. And now we're just gonna loosen up the 10mm nut on the positive and the negative. And then we can slide our connectors onto the studs and tighten them back down. So now I'm gonna pull these wires apart a little bit so we have some room to work with. And then grab your 10mm socket. I'm gonna start with the positive here. Just loosen that up. And then slide that onto the stud and tighten it back down. And then just do the same thing on the negative. Tighten it back down. So now I'm just going to pull the slack on our wire and tie up all of this excess and then tuck it away down into the battery box. Grab yourself a zip tie. And then take a pair of scissors or diagonal cutters, cut off the excess of that zip tie. And then we can tuck that down into the battery box. And now grab your cover, slide these 3 tabs into the 3 holes here. And then lay your cover down. And then go ahead and reinstall those 3 push clips. So now we need to run our white wire over to the driver's side as well as our extension harness. We have these 2 connectors coming off the opposite side of our controller. So I'm going to plug in our extension harness to one of these. And I'm going to run it underneath of our support. And I'm going to grab our extension and our white wire. I'm going to run it under the rad bracket. Thing on the other side. And then we can drop this down and into our headlight bucket. And then we'll just go back and zip tie it up to our rad support brackets. So now I'm going to take my first zip tie and attach it to this rad support bracket. One quick thing to make sure of is that you don't use this hole or block this hole because we do have a push clip going in there for our rad cover. Put that zip tie down, trim off the excess. And I'm also going to use these 2 holes right around our hood latch. Run the zip tie through there. Cut off the excess. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side with the rad support bracket. Now this is going to keep it away from any moving parts and anything hot as well. So now we're ready to make our connections up to our connector. Now once again, we're using these T-taps to make our connection. We're going to be connecting them up to our fog light connector here. Now we already have T-taps on pretty much every wire on here since we've done a bunch of these installs before. However, just like I showed you on the table, you're just going to put that fork around the wire, close it up, pinch it down with some pliers, and that's going to make your connection there. So now we're going to grab a test light. I'm going to turn on the daytime running lights as well as the hazards inside the car, and then we're just going to probe into this connector. The one that's steady is going to be our daytime running light, and the one that's blinking is going to be our turn signal. And then we'll just plug in the corresponding wire to that T-tap. Or for you at home doing this for the first time, you're going to install your T-tap onto that wire, shut the lights off before you do that, and then you can make your connection. Now I have my one side of my test light hooked up to a bare metal bolt, and then we can just probe inside this connector. We're looking for the steady light and the blinking light. So on this third pin from the left, we have a steady light. That's going to be our brown wire with the yellow strip. And we'll keep going. And now we've got the blinking in the fifth pin from the left. And that's going to be for our yellow wire with the purple stripe. So we'll go ahead and shut our lights off and then hook up our connection. So now our yellow wire is going to our daytime running lights, which is going to be this brown wire with the yellow stripe. So we'll go ahead and plug that in. And then we'll grab our green wire, which is for our turn signal here on the passenger side. And that was this yellow wire with the purple stripe. So we'll plug that in. And now we're just going to bunch up all of our excess wire. So go ahead and grab yourself a zip tie, bunch all of this up. Leave yourself a little bit of slack there. Then install your zip tie, grab your scissors or diagonal cutters, and cut off that excess. And we'll go over to the driver's side and hook up our turn signal wire. So now over on the driver's side, we're just going to do the same thing. I've got turn signals on inside of the car, and now we're just going to probe our connector until we get a blinking light. And that's going to be the fifth pin from the left, which is going to correspond to this blue wire with a green stripe. So now we'll shut those off, make our connection, and then we can move on to getting our headlights installed. So now we'll just grab our white wire, connect that up to the T-tap on our blue wire with green stripe. And then we'll grab the two wires that we ran over to this side, bunch up the excess on our white and for our extension harness, but we are going to leave a little bit of slack for that. And then just once again, grab your zip tie. Tie up that excess wire, and then cut off your excess. So now we can hook up our headlight. So we're just going to take our connector here, match it up, and plug it in. And then we'll grab our factory headlight connector, plug it into the back here. And now we'll slide this into place. And now I'm going to take our 10mm bolt for up top, put that in place just to hold it for now, and we'll get our other two bolts installed. So now we can get the bolt on the bottom of our headlight threaded into place, as well as the long one on the side. And then just get everything lined up, get your headlight into place, and take a 10mm socket to tighten down the first two. And then switch to a 13mm socket for the last one. And then repeat that same process on the other side. So now we're ready to throw our bumper back on and start buttoning everything up. I'm gonna grab a buddy for this to make it a little bit easier. He'll take one side, I'll take the other. We just have to plug in our fog light connector on the way in, and then we're just throwing it back on the same way we took it off. So now with your buddy, grab your connector and plug it into your fog lights. And then we can raise our bumper up into place. Now on the top, just hook your bumper onto those posts, and then come around to the side, line your holes up, and press your push clip into place. Do that same thing on the other side. Now we can reinstall all the bolts at the top of our bumper here, starting with the 7mm, one on each corner, and then the rest of them are going to be those 8mm. And then grab your 8mm socket for the 6 in the middle. Now these are tightened into plastic, so don't tighten them down too much. then switch to your 7mm socket and get the 2 on the corners. Next, we can reinstall our radiator cover. So just drop that into place and then grab all those push clips and press those back in. Next, we can come to our wheel well, peel back our fender liner, and that will give us access to our 2 bolts to hold the bumper to the fender. So take your 2 nuts, thread them on. And then you can grab your 10mm socket and tighten those down. And then you can replace your fender liner and we'll get those clips installed. And now we can reinstall those 3 clips. And then repeat that same process on the other side. Now we can reinstall all of those screws across the bottom of our bumper. Now you want to make sure that your splash guard is inside your bumper. You don't want this to be hanging under. You won't be able to put the screws in. We'll just start from the outside here. There's normally one here as well, but we're missing our U-clip on the other side. And I'm going to get my 7mm socket on the extension for these underneath. And then throw your ratchet on the other side of that. Tighten all of these down and do the same thing on the other side. So now we're in the Ghost app here. We're at the home screen. This is going to be all of your show modes here. So you can hit the plus sign to make a new show, or you can hit the settings gear on here to edit your current show. So we've got the line dance option selected now. You have your size that you can increase or decrease. You can increase the speed or decrease. And then you also have a dimmer that you can also increase or decrease. Then if you go up and click on the line dance, that's gonna open up all of your options here. You've got quite a bit. So Kaleidoscope's a cool move that we have. You've got your solid. Now if you come to the bottom here and click on that car, you can customize all your settings for your turn signals, parking lights. If you have tail lights as well, you can do your brake and your reverse. So if we go in here and click on the color under parking lights, it'll give us the color wheel, where you can go around, choose whatever color you like. And then you also have a startup sequence. So if we start with off here, and we can choose from these options. We have Scan Sweep. Got Rainbow Road, which is a cool one. And you've got a ton of customization options through here. Now you have that same option with your turn signals. Right now we have it in a sequential setting. You can set it to just your basic flashers. You have a wave, which is slightly different than that sequential. You've got a bounce, a bubble, and roll out. Now in each of these you also have a speed setting as well as a brightness setting that you can scroll back and forth between. So that'll wrap up this review and install of the Striker Lights RGB Flow Series S650 style headlights with Blue Ghost controller, matte black housing, and clear lens for your 2018 to 23 Mustang GT and EcoBoost. Thank you for watching, and for all things Mustang, keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.